part of the building has been all away. We'll have to back around the other side so I can get a better view of it.
As the chopper goes around the side of the federal building, look at that shot. It is absolutely incredible. The side of the federal building has been blown off.
Byron Moore School? No.
Hello everyone. As you can tell by the title of this video, this is the site of the April 19th, 1995 Oklahoma City bombing. It took place right here at the former Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. At the time of this upload, it'll be 30 years since this tragic event took place.
The whole front of the federal building is gone, all floors to the roof.
I'm going to show you around the property, show you what it looks like today, bring in some photos from 1995 so you can see what it looked like then, and just dedicate this video to the 168 lives that were lost that morning, including 19 children. So we are entering on the east side of the former Murrah building. And this whole site is now known as the Oklahoma City National Memorial and Museum. This was dedicated on April 19th of 2000, 5 years after the event. The reflecting pool that we're looking at now was put in place to represent a peaceful area to remember all of the victims and the survivors from that day. The 901 on this side, on the east side of the building, commemorates the minute before the explosion happened. 902 is when it actually happened, which was right here. And then on the other side, the western side, is the 903, 1 minute after. So now I'm walking, going toward the west side of 5th Street. And again, I'd be walking on 5th Street in 1995. To the left would have been the building, of course. And right about in between these two trees is where McVeigh's truck would have been parked. This is pretty much the sidewalk. That park ranger over there, he's the one that gave me this information. If anybody is wondering where I got this information from, I got it from this park ranger here just a few minutes ago. And he says basically this is the sidewalk of 5th Street in 1995, and this is where the road was. So McVeigh would have been parked pretty much right here. And the bomb would have went off here. You know, and you know what happened. And the damage of that can be seen in these photos. But it's pretty surreal to even be here. Obviously the trees were not here. None of this was here. So it's you know, just have to imagine just the building, sidewalk, street, downtown street. Okay, and on this side of the building, this is on the opposite end of Robinson and 5th, which is over there. But here's another plaque that just pretty much says the same thing, but it's on the west side of it. So I'm gonna try to. It's kind of hard to do because you got all this stuff that wasn't here at the time. This wall wasn't here. This is 5th Street, and again, it would have ran through. None of this would have been here. It would have connected through in 1995, right through here, all the way. And this again, this is still 5th Street, 1995. So this photo here that I'm going to put up on the screen is what I'm trying to recreate. It's a little difficult because I'm against this gate here. But at the time in 95, you would have had 5th Street running here, and then this was the Murrah building, and that's the back end of it, or the back end of it. You could still see the damage from it from right there. But this picture I'm bringing in is from this vantage point roundabout. You see 5th Street running here, and then you see what used to be the walling with the little garage here in the right part of the frame. But this was the other side of the Murrah building right here. So again, there's not much to match other than just imagine this being 5th Street, because that's where the road would have been. Okay, so this shot is on the other side of the reflecting pool. We're shooting the building across. We're going to turn around and we're going to show you the front on vantage point of where the Murrah building was. Now, this was shot all out of order, so you might hear me repeat a lot of the same things, but we'll cut to that clip. Here I am in Oklahoma City, the site where the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing took place, between the intersection of Robinson and 5th Street Northwest. And this is pretty much, well, this it was where the Alfred P. Murrah building once stood, right here. These two photos I'm going to flash up are going to show you the then, and of course where I am now is the now. And we're looking straight on at the front of the building. Now in 1995, where you see the water was where 5th Street ran through. It continues on the other side of the memorial, each side, but it used to run right through here in 1995. And right there between these two trees is where Timothy McVeigh's Ryder truck was parked and blew off the truck bomb. If I go wider here, you might be able to see these chairs commemorate every victim that perished. And if you notice the pattern, there's a crescent view. It goes a crescent pattern that goes up where you have more victims here, and then it kind of tapers off here, because the the majority of the explosion was right in the center where the truck was. And each row of chairs is the first row of chairs is the first floor of the building, and the second row of chairs is the victims in the second floor, and so on and so on. Now the chairs way over here on the other end where I was at, those are for the outermost victims that weren't really a part of the building, but they received, but they were affected by the explosion, and whether it was debris or whatnot that killed them. So they're on the outer end of the chairs, most western part of the building. But this is where the building was from left to right. You could see the damage on the foundation corner of the building over there on Robinson. Because again, 5th and Robinson. So just picture the building standing right here. And from this angle where the Jesus Wept statue is, right to the right of the frame of your screen there, was about where the building stood. This is the foundation area here. So in 95 you would have seen the building right there. Yeah, I know. I ran into that too. Okay, coming inside the circle that I was just filming on the other side. Now I wanted to show you guys this is a very big piece of what still remains today. The remnants of that day still that survived is the survivor tree. This tree was here, obviously it's a 90-year-old tree, so it's here long ago, long even before the tragedy, and it still stands. It was slightly damaged at the time, but it persevered, if you will, and made it through. And they have commemorated the tree here. It talks about it. You know, you can talk about the survivor tree.
There was an old American elm tree there. That old tree should be saved.
This is footage from 95. There's the tree there. But I'm going to show you I got a couple of stills from that time period. And where we're standing at the time was a parking lot. There's an aerial shot I'll show you that shows all of the damage of the building over there. And it's bird's eye view. And this right here, all of this was a parking lot. And yeah, so here's the photo. You could see the then and now, which really puts it into perspective of what it looked like then and where I'm standing now. But one of the shots is from here, the tree, and you can see the tree. I believe it's on the... Okay, so I just looked at the photo. We're gonna do my best to try to recreate this shot. It's kind of hard to do because you gotta imagine none of this was here. I am elevated about 6 to 7 feet. And again, this wasn't here, so this was all parking lot. It would have all been level. If this wasn't here, I'd get on the floor, I'd get on the ground, and I would give you more of an accurate placement of where the camera was at the time to get this photo I'm about to show you right now. But we're gonna do our best. I'm sitting here, and the survivor tree was on the right hand side of the frame, just like this. Okay, and I'm gonna bring in the 95 photo, and you can't really see it. I'm gonna point it out. You can actually. There's stairwells here on the left side of the frame here, and they go all the way down the building. They're obscured by what is now the new planted trees that came after. All these trees here were planted, well, obviously after the fact, because it was a parking lot again. So here is pretty much what the now picture would look like to this then picture I'm bringing in now. So this building here was still back there. It is being, I don't know what you want to call it, updated, remodeled, whatever, but they're putting glass on the front facade of the, yeah, they're doing construction, as you can see. But that building was definitely in the back. There's the survivor tree. There's the building with the windows and the stairwells, just like that. Now I'm going to take you on the other side here, and this is another vantage point which shows the front of the Murrah building right here. So let me get up on this thing here without busting my ass, hopefully. Here we go. So right here is another angle of the survivor tree, and bring in the 95 photo, and boom, there you go. So there's the bend in the tree on the left side of the frame. Again, none of this was here, and right here was the exploded, the damaged Murrah building. It's about as good as a then and now is going to get. And just to kind of show you this little circle area that I'm in, where the survivor tree behind me, it has been it's placed on the National Register of Historic Places. The one last thing I want to show you is this marking here, which clearly comes from 1995. This is probably before they found that it was Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols behind it all. Someone spray painted this message. Excuse the construction going on there, but this is really cool to see that it's still here. Okay, so all I had to do was walk a little closer to the message, and here is the information on this message here. Rescue worker originally painted this message on the wall during search and rescue recovery efforts in April '95. There you go. But fortunately, no one was killed inside this building. Amazing. Okay, so on this side of this is on the east side of where the Murrah building was. So I'm standing right in the middle of Northwest 5th, which again, 5th ran through, right? Murrah building's over here, and this is Robinson. So this is Northwest 5th and Robinson, and I'm going to recreate a shot from I guess '95. It was pre-tragedy, and it's kind of hard to figure out where what was, but you can see a north of Robinson Street sign in the foreground of this shot, and the best that I can do is stand here. You can see crosswalk in the foreground, and the Robinson Street sign is no longer here, obviously, but the shot is pretty much right here, because you can see the corner of the wall there, and then it would have extended that way. Of course, it's no more, and then of course the Murrah building would have been standing here. Again, this is all part of the memorial, so it wasn't there, but that is pretty much. I can go wider. that's about the best I can do. Even coming this way. There's the then. This is the now. But it's hard to tell where the Robinson Street sign would have been. I'm going to think I want to say that it was on the corner because this is the intersection, right? So the corner would have been here. Because they're doing construction here, so this median wasn't here at the time, obviously. But so I guess I could go back like this, and then there's where the Robinson Street would have been around here. That sign, of course, the wall and the Murrah building stayed in that way. That's it. Another thing to note is, again, you know, you got 5th Street that is at this elevation, if you will, right? Well, 5th Street would have been flat. It would have came right through here, still at this height. Well, the Memorial dips down quite a bit, right? We got stairs now to get down into the Memorial. So this was obviously just earth and ground, and because the street would have continued. It would have continued right here. So what it looks like, well, and this is what I read, is, you know, the explosion was so massive. I think it was, correct me in the comments or whatever if I'm wrong, but I believe that the explosion caused like a 32-foot, is what I remember reading, crater, right? And that would have been right over there, in the center. So it made a hole in the ground, essentially. So when they're demolishing the Murrah building, clearing it all out, you've got this crater in the center of 5th Street. And so over the years, when they're cleaning it up, all the debris, and just gutting everything, you have this dip. And so they, I guess, went with it and made the memorial, created the memorial within that. Because this is the wall that continued on. So, I mean, I've shown the then pictures that kind of give you an idea what it looked like then. But yeah, it's kind of crazy to think, because if you, at the time, 95, you're walking down 5th Street, you would have stayed on this plane here, boom, 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 like that. But now it drops a good 15, 20 feet. I mean, so that's what it looks like today. 5th Street would have been way higher, but then again, it could dip. I'm thinking now that I'm talking this out, is like 5th Street's higher on this end, and it descends because it connects over there, which seems lower. I don't know. Again, I'm trying to understand the then and now in 28 years, and this is my first time here, so I'm trying to kind of make sense of the comparisons. But I will say the one last thing I wanted to say, because I don't think I mentioned it, the Shallow Water Memorial. I was wondering this earlier. It depicts like the reason for the shallow water is it shows where 5th Street once was, and it's like it's a cleansing of the bad that happened here, and there, if you go closer, you can hear the water is constantly running through. You hear the sound of trickling water, and so it's meant to like create a peaceful place to reflect and pay respects and just remember and never forget what happened here. So it's just a peaceful environment to commemorate this site after such terrible and evil acts that took place here. So that's all I got for you. Hopefully this was somewhat enjoyable to watch. I know there's probably tons of other Oklahoma City bombing site videos out here, and that have done this way before I did, but this is my first time here. It's about a 5.5 hour drive from where I live, and I figured it was time, and I was doing some other things around this area, and I figured, why not come check this out for myself finally after all these years. And it's just, if you ever get a chance to come out here, it's really nice to, it's part of our country's history, unfortunately. But that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. One more thing I wanted to add is where I'm standing now is the Regency apartment buildings. And they're just a few blocks west of where the Murrah building was, which is right over there. There's the memorial wall right there. At 8:57 a.m., Timothy McVeigh in the Ryder truck can be seen spotted from the apartment security surveillance cameras from within inside across the street here. And apparently this is where he lit the first fuse in the truck. So pretty much where I'm standing now is where approximately where he would have been, where he lit the first fuse. And you could see his Ryder truck from the surveillance cameras on the inside. And I'll bring in the clip that I'm referring to. And then he drives that way, obviously, down 5th to right in front of where he ends up parking the truck and abandoning it at 9 o'clock, lights the second fuse, and then takes off on foot that direction. I think 4 blocks to get into the yellow vehicle that he ends up escaping in. And then, of course, 2 minutes later, that's when it goes off, and the rest is history. But I wanted to point this out because it's part of the history, right? So these are apartment buildings, units here. So from within these windows, and there's cameras. I mean, it could look completely different today than it did back then. But imagine cameras from within inside here. And they picked up his truck right across the street around here. You can see the truck in the photo that I'm showing you right now. Right there. And then again, makes its way down there. But I wanted to include that because I didn't even know that until today, actually. Regency apartment buildings. It's right down the block from where the Murrah building stood.